In the second video concerning the general aspects of English Renaissance, I will analyze with you English Renaissance poetry and English Renaissance drama. We will start by taking a more detailed look in English Renaissance poetry. As we have said, the Italian cultural Renaissance tradition was prevalent, and therefore even the Italian sonnet was the inspirational poetry that the English tried to follow. However, because of some peculiarities that are specific of the English language, especially that of lacking rhymes, it soon became necessary to transform the English language in order to overcome the problems that they encountered in trying to adapt the English language to the Italian scheme. The Italian sonnet was introduced to England by Sir Wyatt. The transformation, on the other hand, was carried out by the Earl of Surrey. What does it consist of? First of all, it changed the main structure. The English sonnet consists of 3 quatrains and a couplet, but also the rhyming scheme is transformed. In the English sonnet, it follows the sequence A B A B C D C D E F G G. Now, the quatrains introduced the sonnet's theme, or in some cases it also had 3 different issues presented to the audience, whereas the couplet contained the conclusion. The main theme that was generally tackled in English sonnets is that of a troubled relationship between a gentleman and a lady. The sequence of events that are described in the poem is follows first the courtship. Secondly, the lady's refusal, and consequently the poet's distress. As in the medieval tradition, even Renaissance poetry was accompanied by music and was sung at court or at nobles' gatherings. They were meant essentially to entertain educated people, and poetry was not very popular among the middle class members. Many sonnets of this time were also centered on the figure of Queen Elizabeth I, which is also featured in these sonnets as Cynthia, Georgiana, or the Fairy Queen, and that is one of the reasons why they are also referred to as Elizabethan sonnet. The Earl of Surrey was also the one who developed the blank verse, which consists of iambic pentameters with no rhymes. They are very flexible and have the flair of spoken language. In both cases, it was William Shakespeare, as we will see, who will bring them to literary perfection. As far as drama is concerned, we must point out right from the start that, as we know, drama has always had a special place in English literature in general, and Renaissance drama is no different. It is rooted essentially in the medieval tradition of the miracle, morality plays, and the interludes. But Renaissance drama also flourished by embracing classical Greek theater tradition along with aspects influenced by Machiavelli. The very structure of the English theater is peculiar, and it was especially inclusive because it called for the audience's interaction in the development of the play, making each performance unique in itself. The very structure of the theatre in England is then circular in shape to favor this communication between the audience and the author in the development of the play. At the very beginning, plays were staged on improvised platforms at inns, yards, therefore outdoors. Eventually, though, thanks to the great success that English drama had among the population, James Browbage built the first two permanent theaters. In 1576, he accomplished the building of the theater, and in 1577 he built the Curtain. Both theaters were outside of London, as at the time it was prohibited to have theaters inside the city walls. Like we said, they had a circular shape, favoring again the interaction between the audience and the stage. And the circular shape in particular favors and allows everyone to have a full view of the stage, no matter where they were, positioned. The scenery wasn't very important, nor was it realistic. As a matter of fact, it was very minimal and relied mostly on the audience's imagination. In other words, what was being said and how it was being said on stage was what was really counted, and much more relevant than the scenery itself. As far as the actors are concerned, they were all professionals. They all belonged to an acting company, and they were sponsored by aristocrats. Another point that needs to be um, emphasized is the fact that women were not allowed to act in public, and young men were generally employed for female roles. Um, Regarding the themes, the tragedy, which takes its inspiration from Greek theater, is centered on the downfall of a hero or an anti-hero. The downfall is maneuvered by fate, and it generally has to do with a sin committed by the protagonist, or a guilt that he needs to wash away, often by sacrificing his own life. Um, the tragedy in general celebrates English history, therefore, we could define it as nationalistic. The reason why English history is so relevant in the drama of this time is due to the fact that England was competing with other European countries that had a long and old tradition of cultural development. Therefore, the English needed to establish their own specific culture and their own specific historical development, which was also which had to be spread among the population to create that strong sense of belonging and pride in this still very young country. The English tragedy is also greatly influenced by the Latin poet and philosopher Seneca. In the first place, by in the fact that English tragedy is divided, the action is divided in 5 acts. Moreover, we can also see Seneca's influence in the flair for violent, bloody vengeance, which characterize most of English tragedies. As far as the political intrigues or the conniving lies and the subtle actions that are represented generally by the villains in these tragedies, we can link them to Machiavelli. The language of English tragedies is very rich, full of eloquence, so as to underline and stress the passion and emotions that climax into an overbearing and overpowering conflict. On the other hand, the comedy is much more light-hearted and playful. It's about everyday situations and common people, and its main theme is contrasted love, often generating a number of misunderstandings, of disguises, of double meanings that result in very humorous situations. That all have, at any rate, a happy ending. Therefore, in the end of the comedies, order is reestablished and characters are all reconciled.